Hi there, welcome to this video. If you're new here, my name is Melinda and I am a homeschool mom of 4 young children, and today I want to tell you about how you can teach your children to read. It's easy enough in most cases, I think. So I hope that by the time, if you're unsure about how to start teaching your children to read, I hope that you'll feel more confident. And I also want to share the Christian Light Education Learning to Read program for anyone who'd be interested in a bit of a review. Now, I taught school before I was married for several years, and I've homeschooled some already, and I'm pretty confident with my choices. So maybe I can give you a bit of that confidence too. They could change with future children because not all children are the same, but this is my idea for now. So first of all, I want you to know that you can teach your children to read in most cases. I think many times parents, more and more, we're thinking we need the professionals. I'm almost afraid someday someone's going to say they need professionals to teach their children to walk, but you don't. You can do it yourself. You can teach your child to read yourself. Now, there are special cases. That's not to say that there aren't. My little boy, for an example, he didn't walk till he was 1 year and 4 months old. And most of my children walk no problem. With him, I asked the doctor, they said, well, not before he's 1 year and 6 months old. I don't need to look for other help. I was wondering because he just wasn't walking. We did get him adjusted at the chiropractor a few times because he did have some issues with his hips. So the same with reading, I think. Till you know there's a problem, or till it seems like there's a problem, I don't think you need to go looking for the professionals. You can do it yourself. But yet there's things you need to make sure that are working fine, like if your child's eyesight isn't good or something like that. There are special situations where there's dyslexia or something where you might need more help than what you can yourself do. And I don't have the information to give to you. This is just for basic, for children who know how to read pretty good. I know one of my girls is having some reading issues. It might be a little bit of dyslexia or something, but I'm comfortable with dealing with it myself at my own pace for now. So if you need help, certainly look for it. But in most cases, you should be able to do it yourself with confidence. The one biggest problem I see that most homeschool parents tend to do online, sometimes I see it in Facebook groups or something like that, is they're trying to push their children too young. I see these messages and I'm like, what's going on? My 4-year-old doesn't sit still. She's not interested in learning her letters. She's young. I would say don't worry about your child not learning to read at least till they're 8. Now, I'm not saying don't do anything, but I don't think you have to worry about it till they're at least 8. Some people would say even longer. Many children will learn to read sooner, but if they you don't need to worry about it till they're that old, because children will learn. If they learn to read at 5 or at 10 years old, they'll learn to read the same well by the time they're 20, by the time they're 15, in most circumstances, in most cases. So I would say don't push your children too young, because that can cause them to dislike school. Now, I tried very hard not to. I think with my oldest I almost did, but I think I knew not to push too hard if she didn't feel like doing school till she was in 1st grade. For one, I would have had no problem, I think, learning to read at 5 or 6. But my parents waited till I was 7 to send me to school, and my mom didn't really even teach me letter sounds or much like that before, and I learned just fine. I was usually top of the class. So I always try, as much fun as it is to start them young, to start teaching them young, to make sure I don't push, even if I do teach them young, to make sure I'm not pushing them. So how can you teach your child to read? Now, the first and most important thing is to show them, give them the love of reading. That can be by them seeing you read. It can be by you reading to them, read lots to them, so that they love reading, love the way the words come out of a book at them and the stories they learn. That is the most important part of teaching them to read, I believe. Because once they love reading or being read to, it's just so much easier in most cases. Then the place to start is with the letter sounds. Don't start with the letter names. Some people start with the, this is the A, this is the B, this is the C. I think you should start with A and B and K, and the curriculum I'll be showing you does that. But whatever the case, whether you use the curriculum or not, if you're teaching your 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6-year-old the letter sounds, teach them the sounds and the short vowel sounds to start. Then later you advance to other stuff, because children have had issues when they learn A, B, C, and then they need to learn the sounds. It's just so much easier to start reading if you have the sounds, the A, B, and K, and all those sounds. So once you've given them all the letter sounds of the alphabet, then you can start putting in other rules, they can just sound words together, the words that are sounding out. So I want to show you now the curriculum that I use, how I teach my child to read. I often start with letter sounds before, like I said, from the time of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If they're interested, we learn letter sounds. I show them flashcards and teach them the sounds, but we don't do that much. I have some books here then that we start going through. Books that I've been given to, this is from the Becca curriculum, but I don't use the Becca curriculum. I've been given these, but it's just simple blends and simple sounding out words and so on. So I use that sometimes to start getting them interested in how we put sounds together. Here's some more short storybooks, simple storybooks by Becca that I also use when they're starting to put words together in case they're interested. But those are just extras that I've been given. I was given this Hooked on Phonics workbook. I hope in the video these won't turn out backwards mirrored, but I guess if they do, then too bad. I think from what I've seen, this is a pretty old version. It was just something someone gave to me, so the newer versions, I don't know if they'd be different. And they come with a CD to listen to every day or almost every day to learn, but I found it was much easier just to go through. It's all about sounding out words. It has very few, it does have some sight word flashcards, like 20 or so, that they just learn, because we know English has words that you cannot sound out, so it has a few. It comes with this big book with practices for reading and different stories, and it tells you also, it comes with, I don't know, what are there, 15, 12 of these little storybooks that are pretty simple. They're numbered, and it tells you in that book when you get to that level. So I sometimes start with these just to start, but I wouldn't need to start with any of these, because the CLE Learning to Read curriculum starts from the very basics. It starts with the letter sounds. It starts with, your child doesn't need to know anything about reading or any letters to start with this curriculum. Now, my oldest two so far knew enough sounding out words with his other books and so on, that to start first grade, I just skipped the first 5 books, because the first grade, these learning to read books, it comes with 10 of these like units, it's called. But the first 5 are just teaching out, pretty much sounding out. There's a few sight words, which I then just go teaching them. But I skip the first 5 books and just go on to save costs in part, because, well, shipping here out of the US and just the cost of it all. And since they know how to read, I just skip it. But I would suggest it's a good place to start. I would, depending the case, I'd use the first 5 books for kindergarten, and because it is a very intensive, thorough curriculum. Very good, very thorough, very complete. And so I would use it's hard to get it, for a busy homeschool mom, it's hard to get it all done in 1 year. I would probably use the first 5 for kindergarten if I wanted to. And if you don't finish it all, put it into 2nd grade, some of it, because it is very thorough. So let me show you then. It starts, besides the other subjects, but what is reading, it starts with, there's 10 of these books, Light Units, Learning to Read. They have the lessons, they introduce letter sounds, their work, and there's a test at the end of each book. There's timed words in each lesson, pretty much. There's all about writing nice, there's stories. It comes with a teacher's book. Well, this is the book for Light Units 1 to 5, which I don't buy those Light Units, so I use this one to, I go through and just make sure my children know the stuff in there. The sight words they're supposed to learn and everything. I was very blessed to have an older homeschool family who's finishing up their homeschooling journey, and in the country using these. They passed these teachers' guides on to me, and so I don't have to order them. So I just have to order the Light Units, which is a huge blessing. But then if you do have to order it, if you have several children, the nice thing is that the biggest part of the cost is you have it all for the rest of the children. So then, yeah, and then books 6 to 10, this is the second teacher's book. The teacher's book tells you all you need to say, all the words. It has the dark words that you can say to the child. It tells you everything you need to explain. It has all the answers here on the sides. I have taught this, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've held 5 or 6 different grades or years, because I've had different students when I was teaching school and homeschooling and helping homeschool families. So I hardly ever need to read this, what is dictated here. I just know what to say. I just skim over. But if you don't know what to say to your child, it gives you the words for most everything. When the child gets to about, I think it's like, 105 or 106. No, maybe it's older ones. Maybe it's 106. They start doing some language arts. Now there's also 10 language arts Light Units. It doesn't give them so much reading practice. It's more the grammar, it's more the spelling, learning the different rules of language, of the English language, of the complicated English language. It has each lesson with what they have to do in each lesson. It's just very good to lay a very strong foundation for reading and knowing the rules. Some people maybe don't do that so much, but I really like it. And once you're done with the learning to read, then there's 5 of these that are called Reading Yet. That is, I guess they're beyond the learning to read stage, and it's a lot more just reading. Oh, I forgot to mention, with the learning to read books, there are 4 of these. I don't know, I have the other one stored away somewhere. 4 of these storybooks. They have several stories in them with pictures, and they get more complex or whatever, longer stories as they get older. And so the teacher's book tells you when they need to read each story in these books. And for these reading to learn, then there's this book of stories, this hardcover book with a bunch of stories that they just practice reading. It tells you in the books or in the teacher's manual. Language arts, there's one big teacher's manual, tells you what to do. And in the front here, it'll tell you like which lesson of learning to read goes with which language arts lesson and so on. So it's very much all explained to you. You don't need to guess what to do, and it's very thorough. So yeah, and then these reading to learn books, the reading teacher's book, and that's it for first grade. Now, along with the learning to read curriculum, there's this box of phrase flashcards. Now it's been well used by different people, so but all the cards are still here. I was glad to get this. It's every lesson in the learning to read book tells you which these are all numbered and which ones to show your child. So it starts with simple phrases to show them every day to help them to read, and they become harder and as they get into the upper grades. Now this is one thing that the underlined words are words that they don't know how to sound out yet from where they are. So they learn to memorize the underlined words, and eventually in the course then it goes, once they have them well learned, it takes away the underlining. So they just have to know it. The course also comes with a word flashcard box, which just has one word on each card, and these are phrase flashcards, so there's 2 or 3 words. But the word one I don't have here right now because someone else is using it. I do use it though. I really like that for practice. And there's more that you can order on the site. There's these letter flashcards. You can get them in small size like this, like for each story, for each letter sound, there's a card. It has the letter rhyme on the back. The people who gave this to me had by accident bought classroom size cards. So I've been keeping them because they're all nice and good, but I don't know if I have room for them anywhere or what I'll do, if I'll ever hang them up or not. But and these smaller ones are pretty worn because they've been well used by homeschoolers, but they're good. And then there's other cards that you can get which I hardly use, probably because my oldest daughter, who's the only one who's done with this, is very good at memorizing. She has difficulty reading maybe, but not memorizing the rules. So there's a whole bunch of these that show different rules for sounds. I'm not sure if I'll use them someday. You can hang them. They're made to be hung in a classroom. But you can get them if you want, but you don't have to get them. So I think that's all I have to show you. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. This is, for me, from my experience, the best learning to read program there is, but maybe you'll find something that works better for your family, and that's fine too. If you have any questions or any comments about this, feel free to drop them below in the comments, and I'll be showing you in another video that I will link in the description box. There'll be all of the first grade curriculum choices that I have for my children, so you can check that out too if you're interested. So thank you for joining me tonight, and we will see you in the next video.